Hello everyone and welcome to another Guild Wars 2 video. Today we're going to be going over the Seeds of Truth Living Story episode. This episode begins with you receiving a letter from one of the menders at the Pale Tree, who tells you that you are welcome to have an audience with the Pale Tree, but she has been coming in and out of consciousness, so you might have to wait until she is conscious to actually speak with her. So you travel to the grove to go and talk and ask the advice of the Pale Tree. Upon talking to her, she is very happy at first to hear that you found the egg, but then is very confused when she finds out that Caithe has taken it. To aid you in finding Caithe and to try and find out maybe why she took the egg or where she's trying to go with it, she gives you 4 memory seeds. Now these memory seeds are something new, I believe, at least I've never heard about before. And what these seeds basically do is, as long as it goes off of your intuition, as long as you want to see something from a Sylvari, it has to be Sylvari's past. If you go to a place of strong memory of theirs, like for instance, like we will here in the Grove, at Ventari's tablet, you'll be able to see from their eyes in the past and see what happened. So now that you have these seeds, you go and you find the first strong memory, which is of course right there in the Grove at Ventari's tablet, a place that many Sylvari will probably have strong memories of. Once you plant the seed, you get transported back into time and inside of Caithe's body, and you control her. You come into Fallon and Traherne basically discussing the philosophy of Ventari's tablet and how whether they should even teach the Secondborn and all the other Sylvari after that about it, or whether they should just let them learn on their own. Now, a little bit of background in case you didn't know. Traherne, you should know at this point. Traherne is the one who is the leader of the Pact, and or the Marshal of the Pact. Fallon is the now leader of the Nightmare Court, who are people who say that Ventari's tablet is a lie, and that it has corrupted the dream, and that they want to fill the dream with nightmare to bring it back to what it's supposed to be. So that should give you a little bit of a hint about Fallon's feelings on Ventari's tablet throughout these whole instances. Caithe and Fallon talk really quick about how Wynn has been talking to the Pale Tree, and she has some big secret that Fallon is just dying to know because it will give them power over Sylvari. After that, you and her go to meet with the rest of the Firstborn to basically try and discuss what do we do with all of these Secondborn / new Sylvari, newly awakened, I believe is the term that they try to use. And how do we protect them? How do we let them grow? By the way, if you notice while you're walking through here, there are 2 Sylvari that are main characters to look at. You have Ciara, I don't know how to say her name, and Kadarin, I don't know how to say his name either. Ciara is what you would later know as Scarlet Briar, that's what her name is eventually, so obviously there's the importance there. Caithe is the original founder of the Nightmare Court, and one of the bosses that you fight during the Twilight Arbor story mode and end up killing. The whole meeting is basically just, how do we help the Secondborn, the newly awakened? How do we help them and guide them through our world? Once Fallon and Wynn are done arguing, you have a chance to talk to all of the Firstborn that are present there. It's a little bit of nice background on the Sylvari as a whole. Malamedes, by the way, is one to keep an eye on. Malamedes is one of the Firstborn who was kidnapped by Asura and was experimented on, and he came back alive from it. But there's another that's the Firstborn name that I recognize and has a story behind it. Once you're done talking to all of them, the meeting is adjourned, and Fallon tries to confront Wynn and try and drag her secret out of her. Wynn basically responds to her of, I have to go, I'm traveling to the Silver Waste to go and research Ventari at a Centaur refuge. We'll talk later, Fallon, and she leaves. As soon as she leaves, a newly awakened runs up and tells you that a group of the awakened were captured by Asura, who were taken back to Metrica province. Traherne asks Caithe and Fallon to go and track them down, as they're the ones who have the most experience out in the wild, and also Caithe's obviously very stealthy. After that, the memory is over and you're transported back into the present. You catch up very quickly with Marjorie and tell her that you're going on to Metrica, and she comes along with you. You arrive in Metrica right outside of an inquest complex, and you're able to plant the seed there, and then be transported back into the past. Back in the past, Caithe and Fallon agree that they need to go in stealthily and try and see if they can take them by surprise. Before they go in, Caithe asks Fallon why she's so interested in Caithe, because that's the way they pronounced it there in that cutscene. Why she's so interested in Caithe and his dissenters, which that's what's going to eventually lead to the Nightmare Court. After that discussion's done, you shadow step up, have to fight a couple of Asura, so it gives you... It's kind of like the instance is giving you a chance to learn all of Caithe's fighting techniques. And then you go on into the stealth aspect, knocking out guards and trying to get through in open panels without anyone seeing you. What follows is like basically 3 rooms of puzzles of trying to knock out the Asurans, without getting noticed and opening the doors to the next room. I'm not going to talk too much about that. It really is just puzzles, and it is a nice addition into this. It's not combat based, but it's still... if you fail, it's combat based, so it's not an insta-fail on the mission. But you don't have to just fight through all of it. Before the last puzzle, you see in the last room where all of the Sylvari are kept, and there are many of them that are dead and lying around on the floor. The Asurans have been doing what Asurans do and experimenting on them and not caring very much about whether they survived or not. After witnessing what's happening, you're able to activate the panels and drop the door to the room, and you confront the leader of the Asuran crew, which is here, which is our lovely old friend Vorp. It's interesting, by the way, that this is Vorp, because I'm going to give you a little bit of backstory on who Vorp is. Vorp is the Asuran emissary that was sent to Queen's Jubilee, and he is the one who helped you figure out how the clockwork teleportation was working that Scarlet was using, and to teleport down, defeat Scarlet, and save all of the kidnapped people that she had down there. Vorp is also the person that, during the dead-end bar, when you're investigating all of the Scarlet's items to try and figure out her plan before she attacked Lion's Arch, he is the person that was talking to you through the hologram and giving you, basically, backstory on some of the items that were there and trying to help you figure everything out. So this is not like I thought it was originally. I thought this was going to be one of the council members who there's no reason to like any of the council members of the Arcane Eye. But he seems like a pretty upstanding guy. In the past, he was blinded a bit by research, I guess you could say. Caithe and Fallon confront him. He immediately says, "Oh, who let these monsters out of their cage? Everyone come protect me." Fallon leaves Vorp himself to you while she goes and fights his golem. After your initial attempt to knock Vorp out, you're knocked back away from him because he has shielding, and Fallon's able to defeat the golem, which then drains the life force from the Sylvari that are captured, killing or incapacitating one of them. It doesn't really say. They're just named Newly Awakened anyways. After that, you have to go through a fun little puzzle of trying to get Vorp's shield off and knock him out without getting noticed, which I failed at miserably and had to fight him multiple times. Either way, it ends up that you fight him, you end up defeating Vorp and freeing the Sylvari that are trapped. One of the Sylvari that is trapped is in fact Caithe. Caithe does one of his little diatribes of pain, humiliation, death, yada yada, and asks Vorp if he had to kill them. Vorp responds with, "Oh no, it was all in the interest of knowledge gained. You beings are just an anomaly. It wasn't anything personal. I didn't mean to do anything to you guys." Fallon threatens to kill him and tear his ears off, and Vorp escapes. Fallon gets angry like Fallon likes to, and then she channels this anger into, "We need to get these saplings back to the grove, and then we are going to track Wind down, and we are going to make her tell us that secret. Because since this Asuran got away, I'm angry, and I have to be angry at something." Once Caithe and Fallon's discussion is done, the memory is over, you come back and tell Marjorie that the next stop is a centaur refuge in the Silver Wastes. Once you arrive in the Silver Wastes, you're able to talk to some of the Pact to figure out where the centaur encampment is, and then you talk to some Skrit to figure out that you can take Skrit tunnels to the far Silver Wastes, where the centaur encampment used to be. You meet Marjorie up there, and you plant the memory seed, going back once again into one of the past memories. In the past, Caithe has just arrived where Fallon has met with Catiern and several shadowy Sylvari, Nightmare Court, or at least the precursor to the Nightmare Court. And you and her are supposed to go into the camp, try and talk to Wind and figure out what the secret is. And the Nightmare Court people are just going to stay nearby in case something escalates to be able to help. They're just there in case the creatures become hostile. You walk into the camp being very polite and asking where to go, while all the centaurs are like, "Oh, it's wonderful, we have some more Ventari's children here." Fallon shoves her foot in her mouth and calls them animals, which makes them all not very happy as well while you're going. You're told that Wind has befriended one of their scouts and is staying with them, and her name is, I'm going to butcher her pronunciation, but Neki Burnthide. Neki Burnthide. That's an interesting name. Once you're able to go talk to Scout Neki, she tells you that Wind is coming back and that you'll just have to wait here for her. Fallon gets impatient and whines. Wind comes back, and Fallon basically threatens to drag Wind all the way back to the grove, and the centaurs say they will protect Wind if they need to. Neki asks for you to have words with her in private, and you go and talk with her. I tried to turn the camera, by the way, so if you notice every single time you choose a dialogue option, Fowlin does something stupid and makes that situation outside much worse. Neki tells you she's not property of yours to collect. She's here as a guest. You can't, why did you bring soldiers anyways? Yada yada. While you're talking with her, Fowlin basically tries to hit Wynn. Wynn runs away. One of the Shadow Warriors come in, and you have to start fighting the centaurs. Caithe, instead of questioning why this fight's happening and trying to stop it, just jumps in and helps kill all of the centaurs in the camp. And without even considering the fact that maybe Fowlin started it. Oh. You continue murdering all of the poor centaur villagers in the camp until you eventually confront Wynn again further north of it. The centaur chieftain, whose name I'm not going to try and pronounce the first name of, Windmane, comes to fight you and says that you cannot escape after what you've done here. Fowlin, being a lovely, upstanding individual, leaves you to deal with it and runs off after Wynn again. The fight with the Centaur Chieftain is pretty simple. It's just multiple stages of you have to kill the Earth Elemental and then you can hurt him, and rinse and repeat over and over and over and over. They couldn't make it too difficult considering you don't have your actual skills, so unless you were a thief, you're not really used to Caithe moveset anyways. Once the chieftain's defeated, you go back into the refuge where Fowlin is berating Wynn and telling her that none of this had to happen if you did, and this is all your fault for setting them against us, and blah 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 blah. It's not my fault, it's your fault, Wynn. Wynn yells out that she can't be here another moment and that she won't, and runs off into a nearby cave before Fowlin or anyone can stop her. While chasing her into the cave, it looks like she's activating some type of magic sigil on it, and then the memory ends. Back in the present, you and Marjorie go to the cave entrance and see that the magic sigils are still on the wall, but that it is locked and there's no way that you can see to get in. So you're right here in front of what's going to finally be the answers. This is going to be what's the big secret the case had for so long, and where's the egg, and everything important that's happening right now. And Marjorie, sorry to do it to you, but she's got to go back to research it at the Priory. Sorry about that. And with that, that is the end of this episode of The Living World with a giant cliffhanger because they are jerks. I'm recording this late enough that I do know what happens in the next episode, and it's kind of nice now looking back at it, but I will say that I was not happy because this was right before Winter's Day, and that meant there was a month in between of this cliffhanger and the new content. A month and a half, actually, I think. But now I guess I can move on to, usually what I talk about in this section is the theory and everything that I can bring up from this episodes. And there's not that much theory you can talk about here because, I mean, there's some things I could talk about, like what the secret is, but I can't really do that now because I know what the secret is. I don't want to spoil it for anyone before you see the next episode. The interesting things to point out is just, this episode doesn't give much towards the future very much, so much as gives you a very, very good look at the Sylvari's past. So you get to see a bunch of the Firstborn who we've never seen before. You get to see the interaction with the Asurans when the Sylvari first were coming out and the Asurans were experimenting on them to try and figure out what they were. You get to see how if you love someone very much, you can get blinded to everything stupid they're doing, because that's what Caithe does this entire episode, and just goes along with whatever Fowlin's doing without even considering it. It is also nice seeing the Nightmare Court in their like founding stages and how they've comparing it to what they grew into. Caithe started out a very unhappy person, and he continues to be that way, and that's why he found some Nightmare Court, even though Fowlin, being a Firstborn, takes it over. Just so you know, Caithe was the first of the Secondborn, which I believe Traherne says something to him later about the first of everyone else. I don't remember what the actual quote is. But he holds that as a grudge against all of the Firstborn for a long time, and considers himself better than all of the other Sylvari, and that he's just as good as the Firstborn, and he's going to prove it to everyone. And the way he proves it to everyone is by making the Nightmare Court. I don't know, there's really not much besides the secret for me to talk about, and I'm going to spoil something if I talk about the secret, so I guess we can just move on to how I enjoyed this patch. This patch I thought was really interesting, and that's probably because I mained a Sylvari on my Mesmer. I play through this game more as a Sylvari. That's what I look at everything. I look at all the story as a Sylvari standpoint. So seeing more of the backstory for me, I loved it. Now I know there are some people who just are freaking out how the living world is. Everything's focusing on the Sylvari right now, and why do we not care about all the other races? And nah. which that's a valid point. There is a lot of focus on the Sylvari, but that's because we're dealing with Mordrem, who is the jungle dragon, which is plants, and Sylvari are plants. Any other theories besides that I'm not going to go into, but I mean, just that on its own should tell you why the Sylvari are getting so much focus. But looking at it from what I loved this story. I loved these episodes. The only thing that ticked me off, like I said, was the fact that it was such a really annoying cliffhanger at the end, because it had Winter's Day following it, so there was so much time to just sit there. And I had to go and rewatch all these videos. I'd forgotten a lot of what happened in this episode because I kind of lost interest after it. It did not do a good job. It built everyone up and going, oh, what's happening? And then everyone kind of forgot about it because it took a month and a half for it to come out. Now, if you haven't already bought this episode, should you buy it? I mean, it's interesting. Most of these episodes, it's kind of up to you to buy it once you watch anyways. I mean, the actual content in it is not that challenging. It's especially since all of it's with Caithe skills, so they couldn't make it that challenging. You're not used to the skills. Also, all of her skills are basically just massively overpowered, like a fiery greatsword poison trail on a thief's 2222222. I don't even know what the skill name is. I just know it's 22222. But anyways, I really liked this update. I was happy with it. I just like to whine about the fact that it cliffhangered, which who doesn't whine about cliffhangers? And looking at it from the very last episode, I think it built up to the last episode really well. Playing through them all chronologically, if you go just from this to the next stuff, it's completely fine. It's just the gap that made it bad for me. So I guess that's all for this episode of The Living World. If you have any questions, or if you have any things that I missed, or just fun theories you want to say, go ahead and post them in the comment sections down below. I enjoy talking theory with pretty much anyone, and just anything you'd want to talk about down there. Video for the next Living World, I'm about to just go and record stuff for it right after I finish recording this audio and getting this going. So expect that video very, very soon after this one comes out, because I slacked off and waited too long. And I need to get that done because I'm really excited to talk about some stuff that comes up because of the next episode. If you found this because you missed this Living World episode and you're wanting to find out more about what happened before this and in all of the Living World of Guild Wars, just check out my channel. I have videos for every single one of the Living Story updates, and I'm going to continue doing that as it goes forward. And yeah, I think that's it. Thank you all for watching very much. It's because of you guys that I do this, and I'm glad that it helps some of you out. And I'll see you all next time.